Hello, good afternoon again. This is teacher Clarita, and today we will continue our another story or another Christmas short story. So this is a collection of Christmas stories to share with your family and friends, and this compiled by Michael James Johnston. Okay, so if you guys are ready, let's proceed to our story for today. And the title is The Violin Thief by Jussi Oslander and Audrey Wardiman. Okay, so if you guys ready, we're going to proceed to our story. Okay. It was a day or two before Christmas. Like all courtrooms, this one smelled of disinfectant and too much steam heat. A few scant rays of pale winter sunshine, struggling in a watery rise through the high dirty windows, dulled the unshed electric lights to whitish blurs. Spectators were few. The docket didn't look exciting. The accused little man stood before the Golden Oak Bar of Justice. He was an old man. They had allowed him the dignity of keeping his hat, but the big blue-coated policeman stood close behind him as the accuser spoke. All kinds of people come to my place, the plaintiff was saying. You'd be surprised, Your Honor. Bands, actors out work, women from over on Park Avenue, too sometimes. When this little guy comes in, he looks respectable, see? So when he asks to see the violin, I take it out of the window and hand it to him to look at. If he'd asked to see a watch or a ring, no matter how respectable he looked, I'd keep my eye on him like an eagle. But I fiddled. I turned my back for a second. He's run halfway down the block. He wouldn't think he had the nerve. The violin lay on a table before the bench. The pale winter night tangled with its amber lacquer. $75, Your Honor, said the pawnbroker. I wouldn't have let it go for the cent less. And this old goof, he thinks he can run out with it for nothing. The judge, a fat, tired man, nodded wearily. Did you tell him the price? Sure, I told him. And he said he didn't have it, but maybe he could buy it on time. And told him $5 down and $1 a week. But he said he didn't have the $5. The judge glanced at the waiting cop. Suppose he hear from you now. It's like he said, Your Honor, the blue coat stated flatly. I was just rounding the corner when this little character ran into me. I hear a lot of hooting and hollering where he came from, so I hung on to him. Then up comes Saul, here, who's had his shop on that same block for 20 years. And up come 5 or 6 other people to see the guy running out of Saul's place with a fiddle. The big cop looked down at the little man. One thing I'll say about it. He don't make any trouble coming to the station. Only I have a real job getting him to let blues of the fiddle. "Well," said the judge, "and what have you got to say about all this?" The little mold man lifted his head. The judge saw his eyes were a cloudy blue, soft as a child. "Sir Magistrate, I don't speak English so much, so maybe I can't explain. I pay. Sure, I pay. Someday. But I can't pay now. This all I got." He held up 2 fingers. $2 I pay. Not 5. But here I am lonesome for the violin and her. He put his hand over his heart and then at his neck, cocking his head as though his chin rested on a fiddle. And here he held out his hands, and though they were gnarled and twisted, you could see that they might once have been the supple hands of an artist. "I understand, Sir Magistrate. I pay. I want to pay. I don't know what came over me. I went crazy for a little when I had the violin in my hands. I pay. Little by little, I pay up. But I need the violin now, before I die. I die soon, without the music." "Suppose you tell the court why you need the music so badly," said the judge, his eyes on the lozenges of light hovering over the violin on the table. "Because I am a musician." That old man drew himself up proudly. "Year in, year out, in Prague, and then in Vienna, I am musician in the orchestra. First, I am a third violin, then second, then first. I play in the theater 20 years, in the summer for people who sit under trees, in the winter for skaters. Oh, how they waltz on their skates to our music. But the enemy came, and he broke our violins over our heads before we would not play. We would not play the propaganda, and they took us away." He shivered. "I was away 5 years." "You mean you were in concentration camp?" asked the judge. Camp, salt mines, mills, camp again, after I got too sick to work." The little man looked at his hands. "I don't know if I can play anymore so good. But here, in my heart, it will still sing. And what do you know, and what do you do now?" "I have job. I sweep out. Sometimes I wash dishes. Busboy, they call me. In cafeteria, after I come back. From being away, nobody was left. My wife, my son, my friends all gone. So my brother in America sent for me. But he's poor, big family, so I don't ask him to buy me violin. I buy myself, only little by little, but I die without." "Let me see the fiddle." The judge reached across the bench. The cop handed it up to him. Carefully he turned it in his hands, unfastened the bow, which has attached to one of the pegs by a rubber band. After a moment he tucked in the instrument under his chin, curved his hand around the fingerboard, and twanged the strings gently, but he did not lift the bow. "Sir Magistrate," said the little man, "do you know what it means to be without music? It is as if they take away my soul." The judge picked up the bow, held it for a moment on the strings, and then laid it down. "Oh, please," said the little man. "I must have the music. If I had the violin, I can breathe again." "What do you want for the instrument?" His fingers were softly plucking the strings. $75, Your Honor. $75 to breathe again." Then silence fell in the courtroom and resounded through the fading light. The handful of people in the back of the room stared at first at the judge and then to each other. "Case dismissed," said the judge. He reached into his trousers pocket. "I think we can fix up a way for you to have the violin. $5 down. Here's 5. He reached toward the pawnbroker with the money and said, "I will stand behind this man guaranteed to pay you the balance." The cop fished in his own pocket and came up with a $5 bill. "I must be the Irish in me," he said, shaking his head. From the back of the room, 2 men came up the aisle to the bench. Were witnesses on other case. On others straggled down the aisles. The little man tried to speak, choked. He could not be heard above the clamor. The judge rapped for order, and above the clamor for the little man found his voice. He turned his hip around as he spoke of them, said, "How about letting us in on the deal?" No, Sir Magistrate," he said. "I hope you will understand. It is hard to talk to you now. I am filled up. Here, it hurts." He pointed to his throat. "How can I take so much? Take the violin this way. I know what you tried to do for me here, Judge, Sir Magistrate. How can I fix it up with him?" He pointed to the pawnbroker. "So he knows I do not steal. Please, Sir Judge, what happens to me? What happens to these squeezes in my heart?" The judge looked at the pawnbroker. "How much have you got there?" The pawnbroker regarded the grimy bills in his hands. He counted them slowly. $29.35, Your Honor, but that's okay by me," he said. Seeing as he is a musician, I'll make it by professional rate, $30, with the bow thrown in. The little man bowed. "A professional rate, yeah, that I understand. Always in Europe, the shops made rates for the artist. But these people who have paid for me, and they're in the court on the pale winter afternoon a day or 2 before Christmas." The little man with twisted, gnarled hands took the fiddle lovingly and reverently, as though he took up the pillow upon which rests on the Holy Grail, and after a moment he stuck it under his chin and twanged the strings into tune, and the room was filled with the simple heart-searching magic of Silent Night, Holy Night. After he finished, the judge glanced around the room. Nobody who thinks he's guilty enough to spend Christmas in jail can stay and be sentenced, he said gruffly. "Otherwise, you all clear out. I'm reminding every arrest in this room till after New Year's, and then I want you to back here. And if you don't come in and police have to go hunting for you. I'll crack down. I crack down hard. And you. He pointed to the little man. You're coming home to dinner with me. And afterwards, you will play for me. I could use a little music. Okay, thank you so much. Guys, that's all for today, and I hope you enjoy our story. And next week, Monday, we will continue another short story. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Thank you so much, and happy weekend.